Redfin urges home sellers to drop asking prices. Hey, everybody, you're watching Bull, Boom, Bear Bust. It's Friday, June 3rd, 2022. Thank you for joining in. Hope everyone is looking forward to having a great weekend. Quick update on the housing market. Let's start off right here with what Redfin has said in a recent article, what they're telling people that are selling their homes to do, and that is drop their asking price. And this came out in a recent article just yesterday, June 2nd. Redfin advises listing sooner rather than later. We go on into this article and I'll read you the excerpt out of this. Price your home slightly lower than similar homes that sold recently in your neighborhood. Remember that buyers are sensitive to rising rates. Now, there's other tips in here for people that are selling their home. Well, let's talk about that. If you're urging customers to price their home below recent comps, then that means you're admitting that the market is softening, that the market is weakening, which is pretty interesting because when you look at a year over year price chart, prices are still rising. Prices are still way above where they were last year. And even if you look at numbers out of Redfin as recent as May 29th, you'll see that we're still up 16% year over year. Not only that, prices are still rising even from the prior month. So here we are in June 2022, almost halfway through the year. And all the people that said I was wrong, they said housing was going to crash 2 years ago, last year, at the beginning of 2022, they continue to be wrong. Why is that? Well, big part of it is I don't think they understand the dynamics of money, how money is created. Also, I don't think they understand what's going on behind the scenes with the 40-year mortgage, FHA rescue programs, with the resurgence now of adjustable rate mortgage. They don't understand the institutional buyers coming in and buying whole blocks, whole areas full of homes, full of 60, 80, 100 homes and more. They don't understand that these big hedge funds and investment houses have trillions of dollars in liquidity, which is basically digital money created out of thin air. So yes, they may look at home prices and they say, look at housing bubble 2.0 versus housing bubble 1.0, and they say these prices are ridiculous. It's way above 2008. Absolutely, I agree with that, but it doesn't mean that prices are going to crash. Right? So how long do we have to continue to go into this housing bubble with rising prices before people realize that something fundamentally is wrong with the economy? Not just that home prices are overpriced, but there's unnatural forces keeping these home prices elevated. So all these housing crash channels, I don't think they understand the basic concept of money. A little bit of a positive note here. Median asking prices, yes, they're up 16% year over year. However, we did see a slight dip in the past week or two, down slightly, as you can see here on this chart, with the median asking price $412,450, still up 16.6% year over year, but a slight dip from the week prior. So I guess 16% price increase year over year is a housing crash, according to a lot of the housing channels here on YouTube. Next, we look at home buyer mortgage payments. They're up 40% year over year, and people scratch their heads and they say, how can this be? People are not making 40% more salary year over year. How are people affording it? Well, it's not just people. It's companies, it's institutions, it's investors, and yes, there's some people buying homes, but still about 1 in 3 homes are scooped up by either an investor or an investment company or someone buying it as a second home, not their primary home. Also, not much of a slowdown in the length of time it takes to sell a home. Out of Redfin, also 54% of pending sales under contract within 2 weeks, and that's higher than both 2021 and 2020. So not much of a slowdown there either. Now, is this Redfin maybe manipulating the numbers, manipulating the data because Redfin is in the business of selling homes? Maybe, maybe not. I'll let you decide. But this is what the numbers are telling us, that there is no housing crash. There may be declines in some areas. We're seeing declines in Boise, Idaho, Chicago, Illinois, recent decline. We reported on that just a few reports ago. We're also still seeing over 50% of homes being sold above the list price. Now, the tide is changing, of course, with Redfin out there telling home sellers to drop prices. So we'll have to see how this plays out. We know the Fed has said that they're going to be shedding assets, including mortgage-backed securities, off of their balance sheet more rapidly now here in June. So it's going to be a very interesting time going into summer, which is typically the hottest time of year for home buying and home selling. Now, just recently, we started seeing slightly more price drops. In fact, we're at a point now where we're seeing more price drops for homes that are for sale since 2019. Now, most of us know what happened in 2019. Rates were lowered and the market was rescued. Of course, then 2020 brought on all the forgiveness programs, the forbearance programs, the record money creation. Could the same thing happen again this year? Absolutely. They can reverse course, they can turn around and put more air into this housing market. And that's the main message I want people to get out here on this channel. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be a correction. There could be, but there may not be if the deciders, if the economic engineers say that it's not going to be allowed. So you can't just look at prices and say, yes, prices are higher than they were during the previous housing bubble, so they've got to come down. It's easy to think that, but you've got to look at all the fundamentals. You've got to understand how money is created. You've got to understand the interests in keeping home prices inflated. The government's gonna collect higher taxes with higher home prices. So you think they want a home price crash. Also, you have the wealth illusion. People that have equity in their homes, they're more confident and they're more happy, and they're going to be more likely to not be completely disgusted with those that are in power. So yes, there is a concerted effort to keep this home um, price situation elevated, keep the housing market, keep the housing bubble inflated, bottom line. And I agree that when we look at a home price chart like this one here out of Wolf Street, it looks absolutely insane, especially compared to the 2007, 2008 housing bubble peak that we all agree was a housing bubble. And you look to the far right here, and the magnitude and the rapidness of this run up is just pretty mind blowing, especially when you look at it on a chart. And you look at this and you think to yourself, there's got to be a correction somewhere. But think about this, the countries that went into hyperinflation, the bubble never popped. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I just want to put the information out there and let you decide. Please let me know what you think down in comments. Bubble popping, or are the powers that be just going to create more inflationary forces to keep home prices from dropping? And will we see big money, big whales come in and pick up the slack for the average home buyer that can't afford to buy a home for themselves to live in? Are we going to see just more big money come in and home buying whales come in to pick up the slack and keep prices elevated? You let me know. Thanks for being here. Big love.